And I,
Rod Stewart and I were always so much fun together. We were rivals in the sense that we were both happening at the same time.
Elton John is known worldwide as the Rocket Man, a piano legend who has sold more than 300 million records throughout his career. For over 50 years, he dominated both pop and rock music with his flashy style and memorable songs. Behind the sparkly glasses and amazing costumes was a man who never held back what he really thought. Elton became famous not just for his music, but also for his brutal honesty, especially when it came to bands he didn't like. When Elton disliked someone in the music world, everyone heard about it. From punk rockers to pop stars, Elton allegedly had explosive arguments with some of the biggest groups in music history. His sharp tongue created legendary confrontations that newspapers and magazines loved to write about. No band seemed safe from his criticism. Throughout his long career, Elton built a reputation for speaking his mind, even when it meant starting feuds that would last for years. These weren't just small disagreements between musicians. According to various sources, these were full-blown wars that divided the music industry and created permanent enemies. One of the most notable conflicts was with the Sex Pistols. Elton allegedly thought they were completely without talent and only caused trouble. Sources claim that Elton viewed punk music as just a passing trend that destroyed everything beautiful about rock music and replaced it with nothing but anger. He reportedly called the Sex Pistols three chords and a bad attitude, with no real musical ability. According to allegations, Elton said that Johnny Rotten couldn't actually sing, the band couldn't play their instruments properly, and their whole performance was just meant to shock rebellious teenagers. Rumor has it that Elton even refused to attend an award ceremony because the Sex Pistols were going to perform there. People who claimed to witness the situation said that Elton told the event organizers that punk was killing real musicianship and he wouldn't support that destruction by showing up. Sources suggested that Elton believed the Sex Pistols became famous for being controversial rather than for creating good songs. He allegedly told interviewers that anyone could yell into a microphone and smash guitars, but real artists spent years perfecting their skills. People in the music industry reported that Elton and Johnny Rotten traded insults through newspaper interviews. The clash between generations was fierce, with both sides refusing to back down or show any respect for each other. Another major feud allegedly involved Oasis, the band led by the Gallagher brothers that dominated music in the 1990s. Elton John supposedly thought Oasis was repetitive and unoriginal, just recycling old ideas without bringing anything fresh to the music world. Sources claim that Elton said all of Oasis's songs sounded exactly the same and were boring. He allegedly complained that every track used the same guitar chords and the same vocal melodies, which made listening to entire albums feel like hearing one long, tedious song played over and over again. There were rumors that Elton and Liam Gallagher had a nasty argument at a British music event. People on the inside claimed that Elton mocked Liam's singing voice, calling it flat and lifeless. In response, Liam supposedly called Elton an old has-been wearing ridiculous outfits. Elton allegedly believed that Oasis received way too much praise for what he considered mediocre songwriting. Sources said Elton told his friends that Noel Gallagher wrote decent melodies, but they were nowhere near the level that critics claimed, and all the hype was completely undeserved. Industry insiders reported that this feud lasted for years, with both sides taking shots at each other through media interviews. Elton supposedly said that Oasis represented everything lazy about modern rock composition. Kiss, the theatrical rock band known for their face paint and fire-breathing, was another target of Elton's alleged criticism. Elton supposedly despised their gimmicky approach and thought they prioritized spectacle over actual musical talent or substance. He reportedly called Kiss a circus act pretending to be a rock band. According to allegations, Elton said their makeup and costumes were just compensation for their inability to write genuinely good songs that could stand on their own without visual distractions. Rumor has it that Elton turned down a lucrative opportunity to collaborate with Kiss members. Sources claim that Elton told his management team he would never work with cartoon characters who forgot they were supposed to be musicians first. Elton allegedly believed that Kiss proved marketing could overcome a lack of talent in the music industry. He supposedly said that Kiss sold lunchboxes and action figures, instead of focusing on creating timeless art that would be remembered for generations. Industry insiders reported that Elton particularly hated how Kiss influenced rock music to become more about image than substance. The philosophical difference between them was huge, making any chance of reconciliation completely impossible. Motley Crue, the wild hair metal band from Los Angeles, also faced Elton's alleged wrath. Elton supposedly thought they were juvenile delinquents making terrible music and giving rock a bad reputation with their dangerous lifestyle. Sources claim Elton called Motley Crue immature boys playing dress-up. He allegedly said their music was simplistic garbage, aimed at drunk teenagers who didn't know what real rock and roll sounded like or appreciated genuine artistry. Witnesses claim that Elton criticized their notorious behavior in interviews, saying they glamorized drug addiction and reckless living. Elton allegedly believed that bands like Motley Crue made the music industry look irresponsible and hurt young fans. Sources said Elton told journalists that any band could get attention by acting wild and dangerous, but few could write beautiful songs. Industry insiders reported that Elton refused invitations to hair metal festivals throughout the 1980s. He supposedly said he wouldn't be associated with bands who valued partying more than practicing their instruments properly. Duran Duran, the British new wave darlings, allegedly faced Elton's resentment over their massive success in the 1980s. Elton supposedly thought their synthesizer-heavy sound was cold, calculated, and completely lacking human warmth or emotion. He reportedly said Duran Duran's music sounded like robots having a dance party. Elton allegedly believed their reliance on electronic instruments in music videos made them famous, not actual songwriting ability or musical innovation. Rumor has it that Elton and Duran Duran competed for the same awards multiple times. Industry insiders claim that Elton was visibly angry whenever Duran Duran won, believing his piano-driven compositions were far superior to their synthesizer melodies. Sources said Elton thought Duran Duran represented everything shallow about MTV culture. He allegedly told his friends that bands were now getting famous for looking good on camera instead of sounding good on records or connecting with audiences emotionally. Even the Rolling Stones, fellow British rock legends, allegedly had serious tension with Elton, despite their similar status. Sources claim this rivalry was about ego and competition for the crown of rock royalty. Elton reportedly believed the Rolling Stones stayed relevant for too long and should have retired gracefully. He allegedly said they were old men pretending to be dangerous, and their continued touring was embarrassing for everyone watching them struggle.
Rumor has it that Elton and Mick Jagger had a heated exchange at a London party. Witnesses claim that Elton accused Mick of recycling the same performance for 50 years, while Mick fired back about Elton's costume changes being desperate attempts to grab attention. Sources said Elton resented how critics always called the Rolling Stones the greatest rock band ever when he believed his own catalog was equally impressive. He allegedly told interviewers that his songwriting partnership with Bernie Taupin was more sophisticated and varied than what the Stones produced. Industry insiders reported that Elton declined several charity events because the Rolling Stones were headlining. The competition between these British icons was allegedly fierce and never fully resolved. Guns N' Roses, the hard rock band that exploded in the late 1980s, also allegedly earned Elton's contempt. Elton supposedly thought they were overrated troublemakers whose drug problems and egos destroyed their potential for creating meaningful art. He reportedly called Axl Rose the most difficult person in music history. Sources claim Elton said that Axl's perfectionism and controlling behavior made working with Guns N' Roses impossible, and their internal drama overshadowed their actual music completely. Rumor has it that Elton refused to perform at a major rock festival because Guns N' Roses was also scheduled to appear. Insiders claimed Elton told organizers he wouldn't share billing with a band that couldn't show up on time or finish concerts properly. Elton allegedly believed Guns N' Roses wasted their talent on self-destruction. Sources said that Elton, who had battled his own addiction issues, thought the band glorified dangerous behavior instead of getting help and focusing on their music properly. Perhaps one of the most complicated alleged rivalries was with Queen. This situation was reportedly both personal and complex because Elton John and Freddie Mercury were close friends, but sources claim Elton still resented Queen's success and felt competitive with Freddie's vocal abilities and stage presence. Elton reportedly struggled with comparisons to Freddie Mercury throughout the 1970s and 1980s. He allegedly told Close Confidence that critics always favored Freddie's voice and showmanship, making Elton feel like he came in second place despite his incredible commercial success. Rumor has it that Elton and Queen competed for stadium bookings and primetime television slots. Industry insiders claimed that Elton lost several high-profile opportunities to Queen, which created resentment, even though he genuinely loved Freddie as a friend. Sources said Elton believed Queen's theatrical approach sometimes crossed into pretentious territory. He allegedly thought their operatic experiments and complicated arrangements were just showing off instead of connecting emotionally with regular audiences who wanted simple, beautiful songs. The Beatles, the most famous band in history, also allegedly lived in a tense relationship with Elton. Elton supposedly resented living in their massive shadow and felt that his contributions to music were constantly compared unfavorably to their legendary catalog. Sources claim Elton said the Beatles were overrated and that their mythology exceeded their actual musical innovation. He allegedly believed critics gave the Beatles too much credit, while dismissing his own equally impressive songwriting achievements and commercial dominance. Rumor has it that Elton refused to participate in Beatles tribute concerts unless he was guaranteed top billing. Witnesses claimed Elton told organizers he wouldn't be treated as a supporting act to a band that hadn't recorded together in decades. Elton allegedly resented how the Beatles defined British rock for American audiences. Sources said Elton told friends that his music was just as important, but never received the same reverence or historical recognition from critics and historians. Industry insiders reported that Elton made pointed comments about bands that broke up and stopped evolving when discussing musical longevity. The jab at the Beatles was allegedly obvious to everyone who heard these statements in interviews. Finally, Led Zeppelin stands as the most intense alleged rivalry in Elton's career. Sources claim this was Elton John's deepest and most bitter conflict in rock history. The tension allegedly came from completely different musical philosophies and competition for rock supremacy. Throughout the 1970s, Elton reportedly despised Led Zeppelin's heavy blues-based sound and thought they were pretentious musicians hiding behind volume and mysticism. He allegedly said that Robert Plant's vocals were just unnecessary screaming and that Jimmy Page's guitar solos were self-indulgent noise pollution. Rumor has it that Elton and Led Zeppelin members had multiple confrontations at industry events throughout the 1970s. Witnesses claim that Elton told Plant directly that Led Zeppelin's music would be forgotten, while his melodic pop rock would last forever. Sources said Elton believed Led Zeppelin represented everything excessive and ridiculous about rock culture. He allegedly told interviewers that their mystical imagery, occult references, and stadium excess made rock music look stupid to intelligent audiences seeking substance. These alleged feuds paint a picture of Elton John as someone who was never afraid to speak his mind, even when it meant creating enemies in the music industry. Whether these conflicts were as intense as rumors suggest, or were exaggerated by the media and gossip over the years, remains unclear. What is certain is that Elton John's outspoken nature became as much a part of his legend as his incredible musical achievements. His willingness to criticize other artists, whether justified or not, made him a controversial figure who generated headlines throughout his career. These alleged rivalries show the competitive nature of the music industry and how even the most successful artists can harbor resentments and jealousies towards their peers.